Hello, welcome to Spoiler Alert Podcast, where we talk about the latest episodes in anime. You have been warned. Today our guest is Lou, also known as Sitting by the Window Anime Reviews.
What's up, ladies and gents? Lou here from Sitting by the Window Anime Reviews. Is a pleasure to be here. After numerous Skype issues, we're up and running.
Numerous.
Yep. Lou, why don't you tell us a little about yourself? What do you do? What are your favorite anime?
All right. Well, in regards to what my channel is, for the most part, I do first impressions and full-blown reviews. In addition to that, I do some random side projects. Like right now, I started an anime tag that I got some other people in the anime community, like Ebby from Bizarre Jelly 5, and Yokurama is going to be involved, and Dr. Dazzle. Just a bunch of people getting involved into this thing that I wanted to do for Valentine's Day. So that's on my channel. You can check it out if you want to see it. And in regards to my favorite anime, it depends on the genre. If you're talking shonen, then maybe Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. If you're talking romance, then let's say Clannad, specifically After Story, or maybe F A Tale of Memories, or Say I Love You, or if you want to go into Mecha, Code Geass. So basically, it depends on genres. I guess the closest thing that I can say to that'll trump basically everything in every genre except for mecha, because there's no mechs in it, is Bakano. But it does everything else. It has elements of basically everything else. So yeah, that is my answer to that question.
All right. So let's go ahead and go through the anime discussion list that we're going to be talking about today. We will be talking about Nagi no Asukara up to episode 17. We're also going to be talking about Strike the Blood up to episode 5. We have Log Horizon up to episode 18, Magical Warfare, the latest episode, which is episode 4, and then most of season 1 of Chunibyo, the 8th grade syndrome anime. So let's go ahead and start off with Nagi no Asukara. So latest episode, Kaname comes back, correct?
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken.
That is it.
Kaname comes back?
Yeah, that's basically what happens, and beyond that, you start seeing the introduction of yet another love relationship shipping OTP type scenario, and that's the thing.
Reintroduction, really.
Yeah, basically a reintroduction to the character, because he's been off screen for like 2 or 3 episodes, and
after being supposedly crushed.
Yeah, which I mean that was kind of a shocker to see him come back, but his introduction, as far as I'm concerned, has been fairly lackluster, and it kind of felt like they were going through the motions. But I have a feeling like they're going to be going somewhere with that, because you have that relationship thing that he perceives between Sumugu and the name escapes me right now. But
Chisaki.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So I mean,
it's lackluster though, because he's a lackluster character.
That's true. Yeah.
he's side guy.
That's actually probably the best description of him I've ever heard. But mind you, I like his character design, so that's the pass that he gets from me. I like the way he's designed, but personality, he is wet toilet paper, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, nobody really loves him except for the little kid, the little girl.
You don't get any backstory to him. You don't get any detail. Like, he's not the most important character. He's probably the least important out of all of them, really, to be quite fair. But he's well written, I guess, in the sense that like you want to know more about him, but they don't say anything more about him, so it's a little iffy there.
Yeah. So where do you think this is gonna go regarding if Monica is that her name, the redheaded one?
Yeah.
If she's ever gonna come back, or did something happen to her? Because it did look like during the ceremony that she just crashed into the ocean floor.
Well, I'm not exactly sure where it's gonna go, and
Is she gonna come back?
I mean, it's a possibility, but I mean, then again, there's also a possibility that they completely write her off, because they've already introduced a different love interest for Hikari. So
right, her or his
no,
niece.
that's not gonna happen.
Hey, Matt,
you want to know the way I see it?
It happened in Oreimo. I don't see why it couldn't happen here.
But still,
But it's Nagi no Asukara. It's more serious.
Because of the way Hikari is with her, though. Like, the way I see it is, it's probably going to be like they're helping him get her back, but oh no, I don't really want to because I'm in love with him type of thing. Like, I feel like it's going to be a little cliche in that sense. Like they're gonna go after her and they're gonna like save her type of thing.
Yeah, you're probably right, but I mean,
But she can breathe underwater now. She does have that
With
thing that they have, the Enna.
oh yeah, the one what's it called? Cousin Lovin'
Mm-hmm.
or
Or not cousin.
stepsister or something?
Nephew, niece.
Oh wait, wouldn't it be cousin?
no,
Niece.
it's
Oh yeah,
the
niece.
niece.
Technically.
It's the niece, yeah.
Yeah.
It's niece by marriage. It's like the step niece.
Well, that's an
If
interesting
she's
love
a
twist
step,
that we got
if
here.
she's a step niece, I'll take her in the sheets. Oh,
Give it a couple months and the hentai will be all over that.
Wincest.
It probably already is.
Oh yeah.
I'm not gonna check right now, but it probably already is.
Yeah, you know what? Somebody
I
go
would be
Google
willing to
that.
check right now,
Someone
but
go Google that, especially if you're like at work or school, and are on a public internet connection. Please go do. Nah, don't do that. That's a terrible idea.
Don't do it at work. Do it at school.
Don't do it anywhere. That's just a terrible idea.
All right. So Ray, why don't we
they,
go
they
into?
try to make it okay though by making them the same age.
I think that's what they were trying to do, but I still feel really uncomfortable about it. So.
I don't know. I
But
don't feel too bad about it. I've been in those sister loving animes. I'm
But
cool with that.
let's go ahead, Ray, and let's go ahead into Strike the Blood.
Okay. Strike the Blood is a bit of a interesting one. It's a vampire anime, to be quite honest. It began airing in October 4th, 2013. It's pretty harem-y, to be quite honest. If you're not very far in it, it doesn't seem that too bad yet. But like it's one of those ones where the more you go, the more girl characters are introduced, and the more harem-y it gets, and it gets pretty ridiculous. But it's also pretty interesting, actually. You want to learn more about the characters and stuff like that. I think they're gonna have the issue though that a lot of harems have, where there's too many characters to really get much out of anything but like 2 or 3 of the main characters.
Now, here's the thing with Strike the Blood for me. I only got to about episode 5, maybe episode 6. I just lost interest in it, and I wouldn't say that I dropped it, but I definitely put it on a shelf for now. And the main reason why that happened is that earlier in the season, there is a major cliffhanger where it wakes you up and it ignites interest, and it's of a character dying or looking like they're going to die. And then, next episode, 1 week later, when I was watching it week to week, they completely
What
shrugged
character
that
are you
off.
talking about?
Strike the Blood. I want to say it's within the first few episodes where it looks like a character's dying or about to die, and then I think it's like they get their head chopped off or something like that, and then they end up rezzing and something like that in the next episode. And basically, my issue with it is the way they handled the cliffhanger, and they just dropped it and basically wrote it off like it was nothing. Just it infuriated me, so I set it aside.
I've been kind of keeping up with it. I haven't actually caught up to the latest episode, but for me, I like the character design of it, the animation, but it's too harem-y for me. I'm not really a big fan of harem. I like the action for it, but I'm still kind of a little lost after episode 14, which is where I'm at. Like I'm still not sure about these vampires. Like the fourth, whatever he's called, progenitor or something.
Progenitor or primogenitor or something like that.
I'm still a little confused on that, but it's too harem for me. But I'm still just keeping up with it just for whatever.
Well, I mean, I think at this point you have so much invested in it, and the fact that it's almost done, or I mean, you got what, like a month or two worth of investment left. Like, I don't know. That's probably why you're probably sticking with it. Honestly, it didn't grip me at all from the beginning, and once that little issue that I have occurred, I just had to kind of set it aside.
Well, why don't you tell us about what you think of Strike the Blood? Because I think you enjoy it quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of do. It's one of those animes for me at least that I can just zone out to and enjoy. Like I'm not too interested in like very deep plots. I just want to see some action, the love interest. It's something I can zone out to and I can enjoy and don't have to get fully invested in.
Yeah, but
I like those sometimes. So
yeah,
but
I mean, there are
me.
better shows to watch if that's what you're looking for. For example, Hellsing or Hellsing Ultimate. I mean, vampire show with lots of action. I mean, if that's,
I think he likes the harem part of it.
I mean,
I couldn't get into
then
that.
watch IS
I,
right after Hellsing.
yeah, I need some
Then
sort
there
of
you
love
go.
interest.
Watch IS right after watching Hellsing. Combine the two. Have them do the fusion dance.
Listen,
That'd be a great thing to
I'm
see.
gonna keep
Somebody make
watching
that.
Strike the Blood. It's not amazing, but it's worth a watch, I'd say. And if you're into it, you're into it. If you're not, you're not. It's one of those animes where it's nothing special, but it's by no means complete garbage in my opinion. You can't give it too
So
bad a
definitely
rap.
for me, it's the animation. I like the animation. It's
It's
colorful, it's bright, and it's
it's
it's enjoyable for me.
it's Silverlink that's doing that, right?
Yeah,
Silverlink
Yeah,
is.
they did Nanan Biori last season, and I love that show, and it was so good. I really love Nanan Biori, and I miss it. It stole my wallpaper on my laptop,
I like
and that's actually my message notification.
I like
Yeah,
the brightness to it. Like that's something I like in a animation when they make it sort of more bright and use a lot more colors and less like they're specifically going for like a worn down look or something like that. Like that's my problem with some of the older animes is like a lot of them look sort of washed out even if they're not supposed to.
yeah, I could see that. I could
That's
see
one of
that.
the reasons I got back into anime recently. Because like for a while, for a good year and a half, 2 years, I really wasn't watching anime a lot. But I just got back into it and I was like, things are more colorful now and the animation obviously improved a bit. So that's just me anyways. Might be a personal preference. I'm not too keen on anime, like, the type of animation, or not the type, the quality of animation. Like, that's not the biggest thing to me. It's just more like the style for
Okay, so
me.
like shows like Space Dandy, which stylistically or in terms of the art style has an older feel to it in terms of character design and stuff like that, as opposed to something that feels that's probably more modern. You'd probably go, okay, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right. So do you guys want to go ahead and talk about Log Horizon? Because this one I'm
Uh,
excited about.
yeah, that's... Who wants to be the first one to let the storm loose on that?
How
Oh,
so?
you know what, Sheena, why don't you start it?
Log Horizon. For those who don't know, it is a stuck in a video game genre storyline, I guess you can say. And so far, I'm actually enjoying this. It's a lot deeper, and it's getting compared a lot to Sword Art Online only because it's a stuck in a video game thing. But it's a lot deeper than Sword Art Online. It's more focused on this like not community, but the society that's forming in the video game. And we don't even know if they're in the game or like in a different world. We still don't know what's going on yet. But I'm like really hooked onto it.
Well, I mean, so far I love Lock Horizon, particularly that OP. Now, mind you, when I first started watching the series, I was really let down. Like I read the premise and I was like, oh, okay, this is going to be an SAO clone, and then we go one episode deep and I'm like, this is an SAO clone. But then the story and the characters started evolving and developing their own personalities, and the world started taking shape and started stepping away from the combat aspect of the MMO and more into the world building and the society. And that's what hooked me on the show, and that's why I'm still watching. And I'm glad I did, because I was on the verge of dropping it after the first episode because I was bored.
I was in the same situation too. But my favorite part that they revealed in like the last maybe 5 episodes was kind of like the lore of Elder Tales, where they kind of go into these different apocalypse, where your character starts showing up, and they call that an apocalypse. And I thought that was kind of cool, a different way to look at MMOs, I guess. How an MMO in an NPC's mind, I guess. That was kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too knowledgeable about MMOs. I don't play them. I do have a base understanding of the basic functions and what's commonly found within MMOs in terms of like, let's say, player versus player interactions or player killing or etc etc. So I'm at least somewhat familiar with that, but um, yeah, that's basically it. I mean, I like the show. I don't really get the MMO component, but I don't need it to enjoy it.
It's pretty simple to understand the concept behind MMOs and everything that goes in with it. I mean, if you've played a video game to a point, you can kind of understand what a MMO is, and if you're any type of gamer, you're gonna know if you. And they do explain that stuff pretty well, I think. Like, there's a good amount of backstory there, an explanation.
But what I'm still waiting for is what the heck is going on, kind of thing. Like, what happened? How are they in the game? And it's only the people logged in at the time of this apocalypse or something. So I'm still intrigued of what's going on, like the backstory of this.
I think you gotta look past that though, because if you keep focusing on that too much, you're gonna start enjoying what's going on right now less.
I guess, but it's still like something I really want to know because I'm like that backstory person. I really want to know what's going on. But I think like with the recent event that's happening right now in the series is the goblins are attacking the main cities. I believe that's what's going on, and I like how they're kind of still giving that MMO feel by saying, "Oh, it's an event in the game." You know what I mean? If you've ever played an MMO, so that's kind of cool. It's like giving it a more serious tone. Like, oh my gosh, these NPCs are gonna die. But then when we go back to the starting point of the game, I can't remember what the place was, Akihabara or Habara. I don't know how to pronounce it. Everyone's like, oh my gosh, it's an event. So it's like, oh, so they still think they're in a game, even though all we've been exposed to this kind of seriousness.
One thing that I've been enjoying, or at least as of late from that series, is the element they introduced in terms of what happens when players die and what happens with the information that's lost once a player dies, and how they more or less tie that into the loss of memories of the real world, and it just makes for something really interesting because it makes you wonder what exactly they lost. And I don't know, I think that's an interesting dynamic as to what would happen if they lost all their memories while they're in the game.
I mean, what's interesting for me right now, anyways, because I want to get onto like the most recent episode, since that's kind of what we're supposed to be doing. I'm actually interested with the way it ended and everything. They have this strategic group, they have like the war group, going over there to start fighting. They're talking strategy at the end. I want to see what's gonna happen when, what's the main character's name again? I keep forgetting. Shiroe? Is that how you pronounce
Yeah,
it?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I want to see what he does strategy-wise when he has, like, thousands of people at his disposal.
Well, I think
I want to see how interesting that might get. That's kind of, like, exciting for me right now.
I think overall, I think it's that's going to be leading and commanding. It's going to be Krusty, but I think Shiro is going to factor in from a distance and not necessarily
Yeah.
be directly over the battle. But
That's
definitely,
still interesting to me, though.
yeah, no, I'll agree with that.
I love animes like with the characters like him, who are interesting, they're smart, they have something to offer more than just, just being appealing and having like character values, like actually having like when they have something going on that you can't even that you can't see.
Yeah,
Or when you don't know what they're gonna do next.
you're looking for characters like Lelouch from Code Geass or
Yeah.
Light from Death Note. Basically, anyone written by, let's say, Gen Urobuchi.
Yeah, basically. I mean, those are my favorite characters, anyways. It's just you can't beat that. Like, I don't. That's my opinion, anyways. But
They do make the
very
series
much so
very.
reminiscent of that.
They do make the series very interesting now. It gives it a lot of twists and turns, in a sense.
No, actually, hold on. One thing I do want to mention is I do have some issues with Log Horizon, and that's that there's some characters, a lot of this, like what you call side characters, I guess, aren't interesting to me at all. Like, I'm not really. I like the bond between, like, the newer players that they're showing, like the brother and sister or whatever, and the other two. But I'm not interested in them. I like what they're showing with them, but I'm not interested in them as characters. And I find that for a lot of the side characters. The only ones I'm really interested in are the veterans, I guess you could say, of the MMO.
Like the Tea Party? Is that what it's called?
That's the big one. Yeah.
Debauchery.
I want to see every member.
Debauchery Tea Party.
Mm-hmm.
My favorite character outside of the main character is the Moe Ninja, Akatsuki. I love Moe Ninja.
Yeah, she's pretty cute.
She's adorable. And I like that one character that keeps putting her in dresses. And she hates it. Alright. So let's go on to the next show, which is going to be Magical Warfare. Story about these high school kids who gain magical powers and go to a school to learn about magic. The Harry Potter
Harry
Harry
Potter.
Potter route. Let's go with that.
That's essentially what it is.
So I'm kind of a little torn on this. It's like I'm enjoying it, but at the same time, I kind of like magical stuff that's like supposed to be in the real world. It's kind of on the fence for me.
Well,
I'm enjoying it.
it's okay. I mean, I don't like how the characters are being written, but and I like
I'm
the way it's
interested in
animated. I like the combat sequences, but the writing for this show, I'm not really a fan of.
It is a little bland, I guess.
Who is writing it? Because I know Madhouse Studios
I
is
have-
doing it, so that's why it's pretty good.
I have no idea who's writing it.
Animation
Let me
wise.
look it up.
Yeah, but
Let's see.
I mean, I
Alright,
like
so it's being
like the introduction of like the other characters that like is his brother. Like it hasn't even been like fully shown yet. Like, is it his brother who's like back in the world they lived with, and like he could, like the brother was all mad because I think it was like they took his life and stuff like that. And I'm confused on what's going on with him, but I'm intrigued. Like that's the only thing that's keeping me watching it. To be honest, I'm intrigued in where they're gonna take it.
I mean, it seems like he's just fighting with his brother over a girl.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like.
No, but I want to know about the brother's past. I mean, like what else is going on? Because it seems like there's more than just that. Obviously, you know, obviously he knew about the magic stuff at some point, and for some reason he's not there now. Like that's what it seems like to me, anyways. So I'm more intrigued about that part. I don't care about the let's fight over a girl. I don't care about that. I'm more interested in the, you know.
I don't know. That's how it feels like at the moment. Maybe they haven't. Maybe I just went over my head for that. But right now I'm just kind of like with the brother. He's jealous of his older brother for dating what's her name, Kurumi.
I see more than that. Like there was that one scene where like he like looked at him when he was like leaving for school, and like I forget what he said, but he said something, and like that scene alone made me go like, what's going on here? And then it was one of the more recent episodes where he mentions like I said, I was taking everything from him, and that's sort of when you say everything, you don't just specify like the girl. You want to me, I assume that he knows something about the magic, that stuff that's going on, and that there's something deeper there. And he seems like the type of maniacal or monadical, whatever, whichever word it is, character that would have been involved in that war initially when it started, and that might be why he's not
And then
there.
he lost his power, probably.
Something like that,
Maybe.
yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like, right? Like, couldn't you see that? Like, that could become interesting, but at the moment, it's not exactly incredibly intense or incredibly interesting. It's just pretty animation and leading up to something that will hopefully be interesting.
Hopefully, yeah. Because, again, like I said, I'm still kind of like on the fence with this show. It's intriguing, but because it is like that magical. I don't know. Maybe I have a thing against magical anime that's focused on the real world. It's kind of a little on the fence. But I'll still keep up with it just to see where it's going.
I mean, the thing with me is I'm trying to watch everything, and so far of the like 30 something or 40 something shows this season, I've only dropped 3, and the 3 of them were just basically fan servicey mess like Supersonico, and recently my sister is Unusual and Norin. So those are basically the only ones
we're
I've
about to
watched.
fight now. We're about to
really?
fight now. Oh,
Bring it on.
yeah.
Bring it on.
You saying you don't like the hentai animes? Like, come on. I mean, it's essentially hentai, you know. Recently, my sister's strange, but I mean, come on. It's amazing, deep, intellectual story writing at its
So much
finest.
depth. So much depth.
There's something
It's-
deeper than this.
It's all plot.
I feel
I mean, honest,
I'm
like
ashamed to
legitimately,
say it, but I'm keeping up with it.
legitimately though, there's a girl getting finger raped by a ghost in the first episode. Within like 15 minutes into the series, you're seeing this I guess kawaii ghost just having her way with this
Oh,
minor,
it gets better.
mind you.
It gets better, trust
Mind
me.
you. The girl
It
is
gets so much better.
underaged.
Oh.
And basically, she has
It's
to
perfectly
squirt
fine.
until
It's
she
Japan.
fills up a wand.
Best show ever, 2014.
It is. It is. I will endorse this for my campaign for anime president. And I have to say, it only gets better. At one point, the ghost like almost completely takes over her body to an extent and tries to have sex with the brother. And it's like episode 3 or 4, and we're already getting to that point.
Can't she? I think I saw as far as she couldn't take the. She could only take the belt off or that thing off for like 2 minutes at a time. I mean,
Hmm.
unless her sex life is very like. She's not expecting much out of her brother. I don't think 2 minutes is gonna do her well. So how the hell does she
Yeah,
plan on?
that's one thing I thought of.
That's
Listen,
that's
listen,
that's a
don't.
plot hole. In addition to the other plot holes, the metaphorical plot holes, this is an actual plot hole.
We just got done talking about an anime about magic in an alternate like dimension. Oh, and you're talking about plot holes about minutes. Come on now. There's a ghost that puts a chastity belt on her. Plot holes don't matter anymore. Logic's out the window. As soon as you got a perverted ghost,
Don't think the
anything
show takes
goes.
itself too seriously, but
Well, I don't know.
Don't
I
take
haven't seen a lot of it.
Actually,
So.
no, I take that back. I take that back. It does take itself too seriously, but it's awesome. It's awesome. I will continue to keep up with it, and every week I will tell you how amazing it is.
Okay, I look forward to it.
I'm really just joking, but I'm not joking when I say I'm keeping up with it. I'm gonna keep watching. I don't know why. I find
No.
it hilarious.
I'm gonna do what I did last season with "Want to Be the Strongest in the World," which is that wrestling show, and I'll just marathon it.
oh, with the girls.
Yeah.
You know which one I'm?
Yeah.
Yeah, the one with the girls where it's like Boston Crab for like 30 minutes, and it's just a stationary hold, and it's just a gratuitous shots of her crotch.
I skipped
Sounds
it.
amazing.
It's just
I saw
there.
it
It's
on
just like we're
Crunchyroll,
gonna.
like, nope. I can see where this is
So
going.
did I.
All right.
I mean, it sounds amazing. That's all I can say.
It's
Magical
art.
Warfare.
It's art. Go ahead. Magical Warfare is a show that has the potential to be great, but the writing isn't there yet. I'm gonna keep up with it, and hopefully they can turn things around and make use of the universe that they've created thus far.
Yep. All right.
Yeah, because that's not bad.
All right. So the last anime that we're going to be discussing for this week is going to be season 1 of Chunibyo, however you pronounce it. The anime about the girl with the 8th grade syndrome and the guy who's trying to delete it from his memory when he had it. So I actually just finished it today, to be honest. The first season, actually.
The first
first
season, only.
season.
Keep in mind she's not completely
Oh,
caught
okay.
up yet.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on it so far?
I thought, well, the first half of it was just really funny and silly, and I really, my favorite part was when, they're...
And cute. Adorable.
Yeah, okay. This is my thoughts. But, so the first half was, all silly and fun, and I love the parts when they're having these delusions when they're fighting, and then it goes back to reality and they're spinning on the floor with, like, a mop and stuff. Oh my gosh, I just lost it at that scene. But I love those little fight sequences. They're actually pretty good because I think Kyoto Animation did it. So of course it's gonna be top-notch action scenes. But the fact that it wasn't really real was just it was right there. I love it. And then when it got to the second half, we were kind of told Rika's backstory about how her father died and why she actually had the 8th grade syndrome and where she got it from was actually from the main character. And then it got all feelsy. Loved it.
You and your feels.
I love feels.
After watching that first episode of your podcast, of this podcast on which I am a guest of, the feels they're strong with you, and
Feels are strong.
Yeah.
To be fair, they're pretty strong with me, too.
See, all right, here's my thing with Chunibyo. I wasn't a fan of the first half. I was really, really bored with it. I appreciated Kyoto Animation's, like, what they did in terms of the visuals, but I was just really bored with the first half. But then after, I think it was episode 5 or 6, where they started going into Rika's backstory and you started seeing what she had to live with on a daily basis, that's when I started to appreciate the show, and I really started to love it towards the end. Now, my problem is that there's a second season where it doesn't really warrant a second season. I was content with where they left it off. And I just, ultimately this is going to fall within, this is canon, this falls within what they've created, and I just really don't want them to ruin what I enjoyed so much. And so far, I mean, I know you haven't been watching, but I'm not impressed.
I like well, without spoiling too much for Sheena, I like the introduction of a new character. I like that for the second season so far. But there wasn't enough yet that I can really say that I like the character yet. But the first season, I quite enjoyed it. I was actually it was one of those ones where I didn't find out about it until it was already all aired. Because it was right around the time where I started getting back into anime. It was when it was like wrapping up. And when I watched it, I marathoned it and I loved it. It so good, so good. I loved the comedy at the first half. I'm sorry, I don't care if it lasted for a couple episodes too many. Rika as a character is just adorable.
I think the scene that really got me, or the part in the anime that got me, was that girl that's her servant, Rika's servant, when Yuta kind of like brought her back to reality, saying it's not real. That one just like got me. I was watching this in school, this scene, and I'm like, crap, don't cry. in the middle of the building, I was like, crap. If I'm gonna start crying in school right now, it's gonna be the end of me.
That was a pretty impactful scene.
Yeah, that scene, and then when Eureka pretty much got rid of the whole little society that they had, and what's her name, the servant girl, she kind of broke down during that scene, and the other girl that had the 8th grade syndrome before, when she kind of had to calm her down, that was really sad. And it really impacted me a lot during that part. So the feels in it was really spot on after all the comedy that went on.
I told you it was I had to talk her into watching it, and she didn't think much of it because of how I explained the first few episodes and stuff like that. But it gets so much better, and the ending of it was so good. I do kind of understand where you were coming from, Lou, with the is it really warranting a second season? And I don't know if it actually warrants one, but I'm hoping that something comes up that makes you just go, yeah, okay, I'm happy they made a second season.
That's what I'm counting on, because given Kyoto Annie's track record, even with Free, I enjoyed Free. So
Hey.
if they can make me enjoy Free, because after you get past the fan service, which basically gets dropped after the fourth episode, after you get past that, they have a really good sports anime, which they are able to convince me is a good sports anime, a good sports slice of life high school anime. If they can do that with Free, I'm sure they can do something to change my mind on this second season of Chunibyo.
I have a question for you. Are you ready for Free 2?
Let me put it this way. That's my H2O TP right there. Just me and Free 2. H2O TP. Nah, I'm kidding. I'm kidding though. But I'll watch it anyways because I watch everything. So why not?
I can't do that. Like I said, the animation style is what's big with me. So certain ones I get thrown off of instantly, and unless I hear the spectacular comments about it, I usually don't give something a chance.
It is spectacular.
The water, the way it's animated.
That's the one thing I've
Free.
heard of that's great about it, though. That's the only thing anybody can point out to me.
And just the motion of them swimming is just really cool. I don't know, the opening scene, not the opening scene, the opening of the anime was just really good.
All right. Now to counter what I said, but still staying within the framework of Kyoto Animation, how about Kyokai no Kanata? As an example of a show that has good action sequences, that's based in a dark fantasy esque, magical type setting. I think it. I think that again, it was a series for me that it was slow in the first half, but really picked up towards the end, especially after the idol sequence.
Yeah, I
I
can see
like that.
that.
I like that show. So I mean, again, that's Kyoto Annie has a really solid track record with me. So that's why I'm not too worried about this Chunibyo tanking for the second season. But again, I have my
Yeah.
reservations because I don't believe that there should be a second season in the first place.
Yeah, it did end pretty good. So.
Well, I don't know. It was originally a light novel series, though, so I don't know if there was originally more, or if they just made up more to add another season, because it was originally a light novel that won a honorable mention in Kyoto Animation's award competition
Yeah,
back in 2010.
I think I think
It
Free
had
was
2
also.
volumes. It says too.
I think Free and Kyokai no Kanata were also in the same competition. I know Kyokai no Kanata was. I'm not so sure about Free though. I don't know if Free started off that way or if it was included afterwards. But yeah,
I know something happened with Free where they're showing off the animation.
Yeah, I thought that was the point of Free. Like originally, it was to show off what Kyoto Animation has been doing with water, and then I guess they just turned it into a sports anime after that.
Because all the girls are like, ooh.
Yeah.
I'll be honest though. Like that 1 week after Free debuted, I stayed off Tumblr because I was afraid for my life.
How so?
There was so much fear because Tumblr went wild with a bunch of yaoi going everywhere. So I'm just like, nope, not too much for me.
Even with the fan
Nah,
service, they
it's never
still
too
managed to
much.
make the guys look very feminine.
And Nippolis.
Nippleless, yes. Somehow.
That's what I love. Feminine men. Yes.
Yep.
Somehow anime always manages to do that right.
Kyoto Animation. Especially.
There's always some guy who's just like inside he's a total woman.
All right, so Ray, why don't we go into the look back, myself, yourself, because I know you wanted to talk about this. So did you want to go and?
Oh, this is one of my favorites, to be honest. Yeah, I'll introduce it a little bit here. If you want to add any more to it, you can go ahead. But it was originally a visual novel developed by Yeti, and it was released back in 2007 for the PlayStation 2. And the anime apparently aired around the same time, so I don't know what was supposed to come first. But it has a really... It's one of those, group of friends, love drama type of things. And, revolves around a group of friends. It's kind of reminiscent of Nagi no Asukara, except, no swimming in the ocean and whatnot. In that sense. And it's got a lot of the feels, to be honest. It's got a lot of the feels. There's a few scenes in specific that I can think of that just... It's the only, let's put it this way, it's the only anime that I've ever watched and I actually was, almost cried to. Just saying.
he hasn't seen Clan
I'll be a bitch.
Can I say that he hasn't seen Clan Ad? So
I know,
All
but
right.
I
How
know
about
about everything about Clan Ad, okay? I know
how
it
about
all. I know.
all right then? How about Anohana? Have you seen Anohana?
Yeah, I mean, okay. That's fair. Okay, fine, but that's a good one. But I mean, I watched this when I was younger though, so that might have been why. I mean, but as I got older, it's hard for me to make me cry at it. But that one, that did hit me pretty emotionally too. But I was younger then, and it really hit my heartstrings. Okay, so
Okay.
give me
You're
a
young,
second.
vulnerable, and available emotionally to be impacted.
Yes, I was. It was a low moment in my life, and they filled that hole, and I loved them ever since. I loved it.
I'm trying to remember the series because it's been a while since I've seen this. But the only other thing I remember was the twincest that was going on in here. The twincest that
I
happened.
liked that part. I didn't mind that, because it showed it in a
Wait,
way that
wait, hold on,
most don't.
hold on a second. You're objecting to a through marriage by marriage relationship in Nagi no Asukara, yet you're all for the twincest here.
I'm not objecting to Nagino Sakara. I'm not. I am not. Go ahead. That's all. You're free game. But for me though, what I'm saying though is I liked it not just because I'm not like go brother sister go incest. I like the way they portrayed it and what happened with the parents and all that stuff and all the drama that happened because of it, because they did it in a very realistic way. I feel, except for when they run away and then everything somehow turns out fine. Because normally things don't go extremely well when you run away at 15.
And you're twins. And
Yeah,
you're in love
so
with each other.
I think that went a little too smoothly. But besides that, like all the things that happened with their parents and all the troubles that they faced through that were, I liked that. I thought it was really well done. I liked this. I know it was kind of a side story, but I really enjoyed that.
Mm-hmm.
The
Because I
main
think in the
story
visual
was
novel,
even
he's the
deeper.
main character. The twin.
Oh, is he?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I like the way they took it with the anime then, because I liked that story better. Because it was dark. Like, it had dark moments. Like, do you remember how, what happened with them?
The twins?
No, the other two, the main
Oh,
characters.
the girl, something about fire. Remember there was a fire in her house. Isn't that what
Fire?
happened?
What do you...
Wasn't there a fire? Or was
Yeah,
that a
there
different show that I'm
was.
thinking about?
No,
You're
no,
thinking
you,
about
you
different
have the
show.
right. No,
Like,
you have the that. She has the right show.
I'm sure.
I'm talking about a different event then.
Okay, then I just remember something about fire, and that's where she kind of went.
And the guy's wearing things on his wrist to hide scars.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Oh,
about.
okay, okay.
Like where it went dark there, and where he opens up the mailbox and there's shit tons of letters in there.
Yes, because
When
she was going crazy.
yeah, when that happened, I was like, oh my god! Like I was like, ooh, that hit me. That one got me.
It did have pretty
But
dark moments. Now I think about it.
it had dark moments, but it was so like it had like it ended very nicely. I enjoyed the ending, but it was one of the darkest, at least for me at the time, that I'd seen like darkest, essentially romance animes, and it took it almost in a. I felt personally, at least, that it was more realistic than other ones. Like most anime, everything goes real smoothly, even though there's confrontations and stuff like that. But for the most part, everything goes by just fine. Nobody cuts themselves, no, nobody literally goes crazy unless that's like a main point to it.
I think there was
You know what I
only
mean?
one other anime that did that, which was canon.
And School Days.
And school days.
Well, school days though. That just that only got completely fucked up at the end though. Then it was just like sexually weird.
Completely fucked up at the end. No, that was fucked up from the beginning. Once they started practicing on the school rooftop, no, that's when it started. All the infidelity and just no, that guy fucked everything.
Can I just say
And
that I cosplayed as Sek Guy from School Days?
There's nothing wrong with that.
really,
I did. Pictures will be shown later.
Because she actually somewhat looks like her.
I
if she wants to.
actually I went out and got the school uniform. I wanted my friend to be the other girl, but she didn't want to. So I was super sad. Anyways, go on with the myself yourself.
I mean, does anybody else have anything they want to say about it? Because I could ramble on about it for a while.
no, you go right ahead, man. I have no complaints.
Well, here, I'll ask you guys what you think about the one thing that's... The part that hit me, and I know it's going to be kind of random, but the part that made me, kind of tear up a little bit was actually when the twins were leaving, and the guy came on the bike or whatever, and it sort of showed the flashback of when the twin did that for him when he was leaving. You remember that scene at all?
Yeah.
I remember it. Yeah.
That got me for some reason. That was the part. I know it's stupid, but that was the part that got me, and it probably doesn't hurt that I remember the day even because when I watched it. It was like a summer day. I had my window open. There was like a nice little breeze coming in. Like the atmosphere was perfect, and I think that helped. But
See, here's the thing. I don't. That scene. I remember the scene like to detail, but I didn't have the same impact on me because at that point in the anime, once things started getting weird, because there's a point in the anime where things start to get weird, where you start to see the twincest manifest itself, or you start visualizing the self harm or the other girl or the main girl going crazy. Once all that starts happening, is just I started to feel such a disconnect with the characters. Once major events like that happened, I was just like, that's nice, it looks nice, but I'm not emotionally invested anymore.
maybe that explains why I had a deep connection with it then, because I was a twisted, fucked up child. I'm gonna be completely honest with you. I had deep depression, and it was like a release for me, like where I got to go, like, it was like, you get to go to a fantasy world, essentially. That's what the great thing about anime is. You can tell any story and all that stuff, and I would get so involved in it. But and that one hit home for me, and like, it got, like, there was things I could actually relate to in there, even though it's completely fucked up. But that's part of why, I mean, and not to say I can relate to, twincest, but some of the other stuff I can relate to, and some of the feelings I can relate to. Like, not the exact things that were happening, but just the emotions behind them that I felt were portrayed, I connected to. So, that might help too. I can't, like, yeah, I don't know, that it got me at the perfect time to really impact me as an anime I'd really enjoy. Perfect time of my life.
All right. So let's go ahead and talk about some off-topic stuff. Still anime related, but not exactly about certain shows. We're gonna be talking about Avatar: The Last Airbender. Is it anime? What do you think?
I think Lou should start off with this.
Yes.
Of course, I have to go first. It depends on how you define anime. There's two generally accepted definitions, and both definitions change how you interpret what Avatar: The Last Bender is. Um, you have the definition that says the actual Japanese definition, which is essentially just animation, anything that's animated. So, like for example, Simpsons, Family Guy, South Park, those are all anime in Japan. But the fact that they're produced over here, we don't consider them anime. And then there's the other definition, which is it has to be something that's produced in Japan. So we're defining it differently based on our values and the aesthetic that's used in Japan. Um, as far as I'm concerned, I really don't consider it anime, just because even though stylistically it's similar to an anime, it's just there's just a disconnect for me, because as I started watching, I'm like, yeah, this is like anime. I've always said it was like anime, but I've never said once that it was anime. And because I had that distinction from when I started watching it up until today, I can't call it an anime because of that. Is because it's similar to anime in its themes and its presentation, but at no point did I ever find myself while watching it, while immersed, saying, "Yeah, this is an anime."
Can I bring this up real quick then, though?
Yeah, go ahead.
Does any of this give you kind of like hope, though, for maybe stuff like anime coming to America more often, being made in the U.S., Europe, and other countries? Because Avatar got a really, really good review from a lot of people. Like, kids weren't the main demographic anymore. That was like the older teenagers and adults were like the main people watching it.
I was in my 20s when I started watching it, and I watched it, from start to finish. I haven't watched Korra yet, but I've watched Avatar, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now it really depends, because it depends how you define shows being created like that. Because when you're talking about shows having multiple layers and having certain elements of complexity that only like an adult would get but a child wouldn't get, that's been the case since Hanna-Barbera cartoons, where you have some deeper, darker themes going on in the background. Like for example, Adventure Time is a very, very dark show. Now, animation style, it's very cartoon. It's not an anime style for presentation, but the actual, if you look at the universe that it's in, it's a dark and it's a very adult show with very serious themes. And I mean, it's essentially about the last person on Earth, the last human on Earth, living amongst mutants in a post-apocalyptic society.
Yeah, but you see, if it was like what we would consider anime, that would sound a lot more appealing to me all of a sudden than what it is right now. And I feel like writing and stuff like that is different, between what we would consider anime and cartoons. even though they have like the same darker stories and undertones to them and stuff like that, they don't really come through as well because of how they're animated and how they're written. There's different ways that they are written and stuff that makes them less impactful, I guess you could say. At least to me. Like, I couldn't take that show seriously.
I guess it's an issue of how you are when you're watching them. Like, for example, when I went into Adventure Time, I didn't know anything about it. I just sat down and it was on TV and I couldn't find the remote, so I just sat and I watched it. Because getting up and walking towards the TV is no longer a thing that's socially acceptable at this point in human history. So I just sat down and I watched it and I started catching on certain nuances of how dark things really are. And I guess it's just something that if you take the time and if you're in the right state of mind where you allow yourself to be open to it, maybe it's something that you can get into. Now, I see where you're coming from in terms of taking it seriously despite its animation style. I mean, there's a lot of anime that's out there that has very fluffy animation, but when you come down to it, it's very serious tones. And I'm thinking the first thing that comes to mind is any Ghibli film. Ghibli films tend to be very, aside from Mononoke, tend to be very light and in terms of how they're drawn, but you have some very serious undertones and very serious stories being told. Like, for example, Castle in the Sky is the first one that comes to mind. You have a very serious and adult story, but portrayed for a PG audience.
Yeah, I wish it. That's the thing though. Like that's you actually just hit right on the mark that I want to talk about. With that is PG audience is what they're going for. When you stop going for a PG audience, you get something. Even though it's on Nickelodeon, there was obviously like a PG audience intended. With Avatar, which is where we started, there it's more like anime in the fact that it had more of a PG-13 feel to it. You know what I mean? Like things were more obvious. They were more upfront with things. The animation style was something you could take more seriously, and it didn't seem, even though I'm sure it didn't seem like it was intended for a PG audience. It seems like it was intended for tweens to teens sort of audience, which allowed it to be a bit deeper. Not adults, but I don't think really a lot are. To be fair.
Well, I'm open to it, to more shows like Avatar being made because it's just like I said, I enjoyed Avatar. I think it's something that should become more commonplace in what we see in terms of Western animation. With that said, I have yet to watch Ruby, so I don't know if that's another representation of what the West can produce that's similar to anime. But from what I understand, it is. Because the same debate that we're having about Avatar is also being had about Ruby.
Don't think I've seen that or heard
Yeah,
of it.
Crunchyroll has it. It's developed by Rooster Teeth,
Oh,
and
okay.
they did
Rooster Teeth,
I think
huh?
Red versus yeah they did Red versus Blue.
Yeah,
Big
she's a
fan.
huge fan. Yeah.
Only the first like 3 seasons of it, though. I don't like the other stuff later on.
All right, yeah, no, Ruby's on Crunchyroll, so you can watch it there.
Oh, wait. Red, black, white, yellow. Is that what it is? With the colors, right?
I have no idea. I haven't seen it.
RBWY.
Yeah,
Okay, yeah, I've heard of that then. Yes, because I think what is his name? There's an animator for it. Follow him on Twitter, but his name slips my mind. But yeah. I've heard of that then. Yeah. So let's go on to the next off-topic discussion, which is our AMVs art. And if you don't know what AMVs are, they are anime music videos, which creators take scenes from anime and then sync them up to music, like a music video.
all right. So you want to take that first, Ray?
Sure.
Because you actually make AMVs, so I'd be curious to
Yeah,
to
so
hear
does
your
Sheena
arguments.
actually, but I when I first started, I didn't think of them as art, right? I just thought of it as something fun to do. I wanted to learn how to edit. I thought they were cool. When I started looking into them more and saw some of the really cool AMVs you can find out there if you really look, I could probably show you like 50 of them by now, but there is some legit art out there, and art is essentially any, like, if you go by definition, anything made in a creative manner almost can be considered art. But in my opinion, it has to be respected to a certain extent to really be considered art in my book. You know, there has to be a certain level of, what would you call it? I guess,
So societal appreciation for it,
yeah,
maybe.
like a good amount of appreciation by a large audience. Not even a large, but just a deep appreciation for it by a small audience even would suffice for me. And once you start getting to that point, you're onto something where you're making something that's worth talking about. You're making something that's worth noticing. And I think all AMVs are art to an extent. It's just, is this one, you know, something drawn by a kid in kindergarten, or is this one, you know, a Mona Lisa of AMVs, you know?
Hmm. And
My my
okay.
position on that, sorry for cutting you off, Shin, is I actually agree that they are art, but I don't have that standard of, oh, it needs to be good or it needs to be at least certain degree of good. As far as I'm concerned, as long as it's done for self-expression or if it's done to convey some sort of theme or idea, and as long as the person is putting some of their self into what they're actually creating, instead of just copying and pasting scenes onto Sony Vegas and just uploading it without really modifying anything and get contributing some sort of creativity to it, then I really like I would call it art under every circumstance aside from that, where they like, let's say just adding a couple transitions or masking certain areas is enough for me to say, well, you contributed something to it, so maybe I would call it art under those circumstances. Now, I actually came up with an analogy when we talked about this, or at least mentioned this pre-show, um, and that analogy is to how the instrumentation or instrumentals in hip hop, or at least in the underground scene in hip hop, are done, where you see a lot of using of samples from like songs from the 70s and the 80s, and them repurposing those songs and creating the music that's being used now. So I kind of see it in that same vein, where you have those people that will call themselves artists and consider themselves artists, and society by and large will consider them artists. Um, but yeah, so that's the parallel that I see with AMVs. So as long as there's some sort of contribution by the person that's making it, then yeah, it's art.
I mean, I definitely consider art. I do edit AMVs myself, and but one of the things that I do consider it being art is because it does, some AMVs do, have that emotion to it. And one of the AMVs that I was thinking about, which I showed you guys, which is an old AMV called Spoil, where it kind of showed the dark side of a human, or dark side at least of Light Yagami, because it's a AMV about Death Note. And I think that was really, really well done. How it kind of had that the dark side of a human being, and what they think when they're in control of a person's life, I guess you can say.
I can see that, but
That's what I think.
I just want to go take a step back real quick. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
saying that it's not art if, you know, it's not well done. What I was saying more was there's different levels of art, you know? Like for example, somebody can draw something in high school, like a picture of a flower vase, and, you know, just full of tons of roses and all that stuff, and it could look beautiful. But it there's it's not, by general society, it's not going to be considered art. It's just going to be considered a drawing. You know what I mean? And some people will consider it art, and it is technically art. You're probably doing it in art class, you know. And but there's a certain level that you get to where all of a sudden everybody can consider art. Or at least a vast majority of people consider art. More people can appreciate it, and when more people can appreciate something, I put it on a higher standard than something that only so many people can appreciate. You know, because I think there's some AMVs out there that anybody who's seen a decent amount of anime and, you know, understands the meanings that they're trying to portray anyways, can see the video as art. Like the one I showed you guys, Pandora, I thought was really well done. Like that, That to me would be like a Mona Lisa of animes. And if you want to look that up, we'll probably put it in the description, link to it anyways. As well as Spoil.
Yeah, those two are really great AMVs. And I think Pandora was entered into Across, which is known for AMVs.
No, for bringing out some of the best.
Yeah. But I believe that is all the topics that we have for this week. So, Lou, why don't you go ahead and shameless plug yourself?
Alright, well, my name is Lou. I'm from youtube.com/SBTWAnimeReviews and twitter.com/SBTWAnimeReview because for some reason Twitter doesn't like that extra S. I have my Twitter and my Hummingbird linked in basically all my videos, so you can go to my channel and you can find me from there if you want to talk to me on social media. I'm readily available to discuss anime with basically anyone at any time, so feel free to leave comments and such. And yeah, it's basically it for me. It's been a pleasure, guys. Thanks for having me, and I'll see you on the internets next time. Splash.
All right. Thank you very much. See you guys next time.
Bye.